Hi, everyone. I'm Shaheen from The Content Mix, and I'm excited to be here with Julia Perota, a seasoned B2B marketer based in Barcelona, who's currently regional marketing manager for EMEA in the US at Wildix. Thanks so much, Julia, for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me. I'm very glad to be here. Thanks.
So you're based in Barcelona, but your company has its headquarters in Estonia. Can you tell us a bit about Wildix, what the company does, and how that works with working remotely?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for the question. Actually, Wildix is a multinational company. Yes, the headquarters is in Tallinn, Estonia, but we are spread all over the world, we can say, because we have offices in Italy, that was the first market, then France, UK, in Germany, so the DACH region. Then we are present here in Spain, in Barcelona, in the Nordics area. So we worked with Sweden, Denmark, and all the Nordics countries, and also in the United States. Actually, nowadays we have an office in Ohio in the North America, but we are also starting working with South America market. And so, yes, I'm based in Barcelona. I'm Italian, so sorry if my English is not perfect 100%. I was born in Milan a few years ago, no matter how many. And I've been living in Barcelona for 5 years now. And yes, now is almost 2 years that I've been working for Wildix. Actually, basically, just to make a long story short, Wildix develops and distributes, unified communications and collaboration solutions. We are channel first company, so we can say that we are a B2B2B company because we don't sell directly to the end user, so to the companies. Actually, our unified communication and collaboration solutions provided to small and medium enterprises from 10 to 1,000 euros users, more or less. So tools that can enhance the communication, the internal and the external one. So chat, video conferences, webinars, solution, and stuff like that, with a software and a hardware part. And actually, we are all the sales team and the marketing team is actually remote, managing remotely, especially in the 2020, because of course, due to the pandemic and the coronavirus, we are working from home, we can say, in the major part of the countries since February, March, more or less. This was very challenging. We are lucky, we can say, because of course we worked a lot, because actually we provided smart working solution, we can say, so solutions that enable to work remotely. So you can imagine how was important our job and our work, especially during the first month of the pandemic. As I told at the beginning, we don't sell directly to the end users, so we distribute our solution throughout high quality channel of partners spread all over the world, that basically are system integrators and managed service providers. And this year was very challenging because guess that I've started 2 years ago in Wildix as marketing manager for Italy and Spain. And then a few months ago, I got a promotion, we can say. So I started this new journey as a regional marketing manager for EMEA and US. I'm reporting, of course, directly to the CMO, our marketing director, and I'm coordinating all those countries that I have already told you. And this year was very challenging, honestly speaking.
Yeah. But you were already working remotely. The team was already remote even before any of the pandemic.
Well, we can say that, of course, the company's mentality is to allow, even if I don't like the terms allow in that case,
or promote,
or promote, exactly, smart working. So for us in Wildix, it's not a news. I mean, even before the lockdown. We have offices, physical offices, but even before the lockdown, a lot of employees work remotely 100% or do a sort of mix. So few days in the office and few days at home before the pandemic. Of course, during the pandemic, we realized that uh, it, 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 it made no sense to go to the office. In some countries, it was impossible, as you perfectly know, like in Spain, in Italy, in France, in the United States. So we started working remotely 100%. Uh, Thanks, of course, to the tools that the company provides. That are actually the tools that Wildix is selling and developing. So, software and hardware to work remotely perfectly, and also thanks to the mentality. So for us, it was challenging because it's a hard year, we can say, very stressful, very, with bad feelings sometimes. But for us in Wildix, it wasn't such a, oh my god, how we can manage now the work, how we can manage the job, because we were used to work remotely. Of course, the only sad thing for me, and for us now, is that we cannot travel in a relaxing way, we can say, for the moment. So we were used to travel a lot to meet, the team in Barcelona or in Odessa or in Italy. So we were used to meet
Yeah.
physically, because this is very important. This is what we are missing a lot.
Like having the mix of being able to also meet in person some of the time.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, but finger crossed, we are optimistic, so we have only to wait. Now some countries are starting again, coming back again to traveling, some no, so we have to be patient. This year is like this, and so we can go on, but we are lucky, so we are happy because we can go on working even if another lockdown should arrive. We hope no, but
yeah. So now a lot of companies are having to adapt to remote work. Do you have any tips
absolutely
from your experience with remote working over the past years?
It's how can I say, it's challenging. Not only if, as in my case, you're managing a team of people, but also if you're not managing a team. I think that working remotely, it's sometimes hard and difficult, no matter what is your job role, because there are some personal reasons. Maybe you don't have the proper space to work, you don't have the proper privacy. I think that the biggest issue during the lockdown was that not only you have been in lockdown, but also your family, your dog, your children, your wife, your husband, or whatever your family is. So this was a little bit challenging, but in general, my suggestion is that if you work in remotely, like us in that moment, like the sales and the marketing team, you have to set up to-do list for your days, so to avoid the fact to just get up early in the morning, sit down, and then finish the work and then go on the sofa. So to avoid this, because it's not too healthy, to set up a sort of to-do list. So had a work in the morning, or go, for example, I go running every morning, to get some fresh air before starting, or you can do some yoga or meditation or stuff like that.
So like being deliberate about like working time into your schedule for doing other things besides sitting on your computer or on your
the risk is that, for example, I saw a lot of my friends that were not used to work from home, because they work for some old style companies that want the employees from Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. up to your desk. And they were super stressful because they worked a lot, and they didn't know how to manage this work-life balance, that if you work remotely, you have such a lot of positive aspects. So you don't have to spend 2 hours in the traffic. You don't have to, to organize everything in advance with dogs, cats, children, or whatever. So you can manage your time in a better way. But if you're not used to do it, could be very stressful because you can you there is the risk that you can work too much because you don't know how to manage the pause, the breaks, because you don't have a colleagues that come through you and say, hey, let's have a coffee, because you are all alone. So this is quite difficult sometimes. Yes.
And well, from the perspective of a manager, I mean, how have you adapted to remote work in terms of collaborating with your team and setting objectives and all that? How is it different working remotely?
It's different. So you have, as always, as I'm always saying, never stop learning. So I am studying how to, how to manage remotely. Luckily, in Wildix, we have a lot of, how can I say, training courses, for example, from a Kanban perspective, to understand how to manage different projects with different teams. We have a lot of training to understand how to manage it. And nowadays, I'm still looking some LinkedIn learning videos or tutorials, or following some podcasts or blogs to understand what is the best way. Of course, it's needed meeting strategy, because for the fact that you don't have the possibility to say, hey, can we have a coffee, I have to speak with you, but you cannot even call a lot of time, a person. So you have to have, in my opinion, a meeting strategy. And then also it's really important to understand how to make a sort of team building, because we are human, we are people. So it's not only relative to business, and it's not only relative to how to deliver a task, respecting the deadline. In my opinion, we are people, we have our feelings, our fear, our emotions. So I'm trying to studying and to understanding what is the best way also to collaborate and to communicate with my colleagues, that actually they are amazing. And it's really challenging, but it's very interesting. So I really suggest all people, all professionals, to study, to read, to have some information, especially for United States, where remote working is not a new thing. I mean,
yeah. So, and I know you have lots of awesome recommendations for us on like resources, which we're going to get to in a little bit. But first, I wanted to ask you about, about your experience with LinkedIn, because your background, you have some extensive experience with LinkedIn, right? And I'm curious, kind of, how you're using the tool now in your current role, but also your advice for other marketers on kind of how to get the most out of LinkedIn.
Yeah, actually, yes, I'm a really supporter of LinkedIn. Before my journey in Wildix, for 3 years more or less, I've been a consultant and a coach about LinkedIn for B2B companies, because I see that LinkedIn works really. And LinkedIn is not paying me, so it's like a honest suggestion, and that I would like to share. Because of course I'm a supporter of social media based on my studies and on my job, and LinkedIn for me, especially from a B2B, so business to business perspective, it's really a powerful tool. And not only because it's a database updated in real time, where you can find in a 3 seconds the director of a company that is based in Barcelona, that have between 11 and 50 employees, and that is in a food and beverage industry. You can find this list in 3 seconds. But not only for this, but also because in LinkedIn, I found a lot of very useful and interesting content that really add value to my business. So you can build your network, you can strengthen your personal brand. That nowadays for me it's very important. You can also strengthen the brand awareness of the company, you can attract talent, you can find potential customers or partners, you can make a retention of this customer that you have. So in my mind is super important. And actually in Wildix, I'm happy because my company loves also this social media as a tool to generate more business opportunities. So I am organizing both for internal, so for my colleagues, some internal trainings to understand how to use this tool, uh, to strengthen their personal brand. And on the other hand, I'm organizing some webinars for our partners globally, explaining how they can generate more business opportunities thanks to LinkedIn. So yes, I'm a fan, but basically, to make this long story short, um, because I see that it works, and I prove this in my personal experience. Because when I arrived in Barcelona 5 years ago, I didn't know anyone because. Of course, I am Italian, and I started building my professional network here only thanks to LinkedIn for the tool. I mean, of course, there is my character, there is the content that is very important. But without LinkedIn, I couldn't imagine how I could get in contact with some professionals, marketing professionals of Barcelona and of Spain. So it works.
Yeah, but do you have any like secrets, or like what do you think is some aspect of LinkedIn that maybe people might not know about or wouldn't think to do, or certain feature?
Well, the first thing is that LinkedIn is not only to find a job. Because this is something that I'm hearing a lot of times, like, I know I'm not taking care of my profile because I have a job. Mistake.
Yeah.
Very common mistake. It's not only, of course, it's also to find job opportunities, but not only. So you can find a lot of professionals. You can be your network, potential customer, potential partners, potential founders for your startup, potential journalists, etc., etc. And the second trick, the second suggestion is that there are two different field of LinkedIn. One is the corporate page, that is something relative to marketing teams, the content strategy from a marketing perspective. But then there is the personal profile, that is another story. And my suggestion is that, of course, it's good to attend workshops or to ask some suggestions to some experts, but everyone should make his or her personal profile on LinkedIn. Be honest, be credible, and use it. Because if you're not going to use LinkedIn, results won't come for sure.
I know there's like a few questions that I've seen come up a lot in our Facebook group. One is about whether it really makes a difference if you include, on LinkedIn, they say the best practice is like to don't put the link in the post. You should put it in the comments.
Yeah. I think that those are tricks, tricks, but to take advantage of the algorithm of LinkedIn.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But honestly, I really think, and I've seen it in my life during my workshops, and also during other workshops, of course, that I have attended as participant, that LinkedIn loves high quality content. So we can have some little tricks, like use a photo like this, like customize the URL of your profile. There are some tricks, like put the link in the first comment instead of the post, put a native video instead of the link of YouTube or Wistia or whatever. But those are tricks. The fact is that LinkedIn, your connections, and in general, LinkedIn really loves high quality content. So another time, content is the king, as always. So my suggestion is to share inspiring content, not only promotional about the company where we are working, or because it could be boring a little bit, and in the future it won't work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And then the other question I have about LinkedIn is where it's best to share from, because like I know we've personally, like I've been working on building up my personal profile on LinkedIn, and I've heard that like you get more engagement sharing from a personal profile than from a company profile. But it's kind of like, what's the balance of sharing from, you know, maybe your employees' profiles versus sharing from the company page, and how do you
Okay,
should you share
okay.
on the page first and then share from there, or is there any?
Okay, it's difficult to answer in a couple of minutes to this question, but I will try. The fact is that there are two different strategies, totally. So of course, to get more followers to your corporate page, you have to have an editorial plan, a content plan that should be aligned to other content plan. If you have a Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, website, blog, and whatever, so a content mix, as we as we were speaking about it. But of course, employees are should be the first brand ambassadors, of course, on LinkedIn. So they should, I don't like to say they have, but they should uh, share company posts, or putting a like, or putting an emoji, or comment, or share personalizing their post. Because, of course, company page and personal profiles are strictly connected. So employees should be really brand ambassadors, as I said at the beginning, because they're very depending one each other. So of course, there is no rule like the balance between personal and company. I will say that in the corporate page, it's good, of course, to share corporate content. So based on the policy, based on the content plan, and so on. On the personal one, it's better to share, of course, the corporate content, but expressing your what do you think about? Why should I don't know, why should I subscribe to those webinars? I mean, the corporate page can say, we are very happy to invite you to join this webinar that will take place, etc., etc. If I'm going to share the same content, it's not we are very happy to, but like, hey guys, I strongly recommend to subscribe to this webinar because value, etc., etc. This is something that is, a little bit different.
Absolutely, bringing your own like personal perspective to it and making like
Yes.
relating with people more, right?
Yeah. But to do this, it's not easy in my mind, because you don't have to say to your employees, you have to put like, you have to share content, because it's not you have to. The work to do this employer branding, we can say, or brand ambassadors, is to educate, as you are educating your customers to your services and products, also to educate your employees or your freelancers or whatever, to share this content and why this is value added. I mean, why this is adding value to their posts. So this is something, really,
Yeah.
this is the typical challenge, is very struggling, sometimes.
Yeah, no, because it is something. It's like your employees; it's their personal profile, so you can't. It's like, is it kind of a delicate
Yeah,
issue of like, well, it has to be their decision to share it, right? You can't force them to use their
of
personal
course.
profile for company reason,
Of
but you
course.
also want to like encourage it, so
Exactly.
and
And the first
facilitate it.
important thing, yes, sorry to interrupt you, is that the C level, so the board, so the director, the CEO, they have to be the first in sharing content, because of course employees look, are their responsible managers, directors, or whatever. So they have to be the first, and then employees will follow the flow, and this is always a good idea. A customer is happy to buy a service or a product from a company where he or she sees that employees are happy, talent will send you the curriculum because they see that all the employees are happy and they say, okay, I want to join your company. So it's a win-win
Yeah, absolutely.
strategy.
So I want to go to the recommendations part of the interview. So so I just wanted to ask you a few. These are rapid fire recommendations, we call it.
Yeah.
So first, just wanted to ask you where you get your inspiration. If any source of inspiration, like influencer you follow or books that you have read that have really helped you in your career.
Yeah. Of course, I had a lot of influencers. For sure, my professors, some professors during my university. And then I recommend, yes, to follow. I'm following some influencers, both Italian and international. For example, in Italy, I really like and I found very inspiring Marco Montemagno, that is one influencer in communication field, we can say. Of course, I strongly recommend to read the books of Seth Godin, for example, that I really like. I'm reading actually the last book of Philip Kotler, that is one of my influencer, we can say. So I took and I'm taking a lot of inspiration from him. Philip Kotler now wrote a book with Christian Sarkar, and the title is Brand Activism from Purpose to Action. And I'm reading it, so I cannot do some spoiler, but it for the moment it's super inspiring because I strongly recommend it. And of course, following blogs, following podcasts. So I'm trying to, also thanks to LinkedIn, this is another very useful things. There are a lot of groups that are relative to my business and to my job role and to my field. And so, yes, I really recommend it. And last but not least, I read a book a few months ago, and it was very interesting for me. The author name is Robert Poynton, and the title is Pause, You Are Not a To-Do List. It was really inspiring. It's about the work-life balance, how to manage your time. So this is strictly connected to the remote working, but not only. It's in general, and it helped me a lot in managing my time, my 7 days per week, and so I strongly recommend this book. It was really inspiring for me.
Excellent. That sounds like something I should read.
Yeah, it's super.
Yeah, excellent. And do you have any recommendations for any like professional groups or events?
Well, events are for the moment. Let's wait. Let's wait a little bit.
Not this year.
Yeah, not this year. I know that there are, and I have participated in the past to a lot of web summit, digital marketing summit in Madrid, in Lisbon, in Milan. There were until 2019 a lot of marketing events, very interesting. Now let's wait for the next year, hopefully, finger crossed, to have some other interesting events. Of course, there are a lot of online events that could be very inspiring. For example, just yesterday there was the Apple event in which they present a lot of new products, like the iPhone 12 and whatever. And I think that is very inspiring. And of course, I strongly recommend the TEDx speaker and TEDx events. There are a lot of the American one, and then some local and regional ones. And so I think they're going to make it organizing live. So I recommend it. Yes.
And then you also, I mentioned earlier, some like communities, I guess, that you're following, like the social selling experts, digital marketing worldwide, B2B.
Yes, those are communities, are LinkedIn groups, where I suggest that you can ask to join. Those are not secret groups, but just open, and social selling experts. B2B social media, for example, is another group that I strongly recommend. Or digital marketing worldwide, B2B technology marketing community. So here you can find a lot of, not all, not 100%, but 80% of useful content, inspiring content. You can see how other companies spread all over the world are managing some projects or campaigns, or how they are treating some products, or yes, or services that they are offering and that they are providing. And so I always think that is super inspiring. And then of course, to follow company pages, not only on LinkedIn, but also on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or,
Yeah.
or whatever, of those companies that are inspiring you. So I think this is something a little bit personal, but I follow LinkedIn, so Microsoft, Apple, a lot of, companies, or Airbnb or TripAdvisors, to understand, how they manage the,
Yeah.
the everything. It's really inspiring.
It's just interesting the point about LinkedIn groups, because actually I'm someone who's always been my primary social media has long been Facebook.
Okay,
so I've always been
good
big on
choice.
yeah, and I use Facebook communities, and we actually have a community for the content mix. That was kind of the Facebook community existed before anything else, the blog or anything.
Of course.
Yeah, so things kind of grew from that. But like LinkedIn communities is something that I've like never gotten into, and I always felt like people didn't engage as much. But I don't know if maybe that's changing.
It's different from Facebook. You're totally right. For example, also in Weldix, we have a community on Facebook for our partners. There are like 2,500 members, and it's really, the engagement is higher than in the LinkedIn community. You are right. It's something different, maybe because people are not used to use it, maybe because they don't understand exactly how, when, and if they can answer or share. On Facebook, it's something more, it's easier sometimes, So totally agree with you. It's difficult to build for the moment a community on LinkedIn in Europe, because in the United States it's something really normal.
Yeah, I see. But yeah, definitely attitudes and the way people are like engaging with LinkedIn is definitely evolving. So it's getting more like Facebook, I would say, because it used to be.
It's different,
Yeah.
Because you use Facebook also for your personal purposes. I mean,
exactly.
So not only,
so there's this kind of perspective that in a Facebook community, it's private and you're talking with, I don't know, people on a more personal level. Where on LinkedIn, it's more professional. I guess people are
exactly.
But
Exactly.
But anyway, well, I guess we can. Well, if you had any other final recommendations.
No. I think we covered everything. Sorry if I spoke too much.
No, no, it was great. And but yeah, maybe if you want to end with any like final parting advice for other European marketers.
Europe, what should I say? Never give up. We are in a very challenging here. We are living a very challenging moment, especially for us as a marketers, because market is changing, world is changing, people are changing. So my suggestion is always to go on learning, even if you think you are in the best place of the world, you are the marketing director of Apple, but never stop learning, because we have to learn every time, because the market is still changing. And so this is my message, and this is what I strongly believe for myself. So reading, discovering, asking, investigating, and learning, in my mind, are the best thing to do.
Totally agree. That's a great point to end on. So
okay.
So thank you, Julia, so much for joining us.
Thank you, Shane. It was a pleasure for me. Bye. Take care.
All right. And thanks everybody for listening in. For more perspectives on the content marketing industry in Europe, check out thecontentmix.com and keep tuning in for daily interviews with content marketers across Europe. So see you next time, and bye, Julia.
Bye. Take care.